Hello, friends. I am Oliver Ox. Welcome to the Doing Better Show Sunday Sanity Check. It is Sunday, June 29th, and we are here to talk about what's going on in the world. We got some great stuff on the agenda today. Well, not all great stuff, but to be honest, we got some important stuff on the agenda today. We're going to talk about the week with Iran. It's been a very busy week for the United States, Iran, and Israel, and the military-industrial complex. So we're going to talk all about that. We're going to get into the latest with what's been going on in Gaza, and some of the public reaction to that. I don't know if any of you guys saw what was going on at the Glastonbury Festival in the UK this week. Also pretty interesting, so we're going to get into that. Talk a little bit about alligator Alcatraz and immigration issues. Some interesting grumblings about the last election I've been seeing and we'll talk about. And then I want to talk about something that used to be a big deal culturally and now is off the radar, and that's selling out. So let's talk about selling out, what it means to sell out, and why we used to really care about that and don't seem to so much anymore. Then at 8 o'clock, after our Sunday sanity check, we're going to talk to Melissa Blazek, a former New Hampshire state rep from Merrimack, right near where I live, actually. And she is the head of Rebuild New Hampshire. So we're going to talk with her about some of the work she's been doing for freedom throughout COVID and for families in New Hampshire. So lots of good stuff going on. Let's get started. So we bombed Iran this week. The President Trump bombed the 3 sites, I believe. There were 6 sort of separate attacks. He came out right after, and in typical Trump terms, was very self-congratulatory and very loud about the fact that this was a great success, completely obliterated Iran's nuclear capabilities. This sounds good, I guess. It seems on the surface. There were lots of people like myself who were saying this is a really, really, really bad idea to bomb Iran, to get us involved in a conflict, and that it was very likely going to cost U.S. service people their lives. Thus far, I'm wrong about that. So for a couple of reasons that we'll get into. But the big one was the Fordo, I don't know how to pronounce it, was a underground nuclear site. The Israelis had bombed these places previously, but you need really big bombs to blow up underground sites. That's where we came in with our B-52s. We came in with our B-52s and bunker buster bombs, which are, I don't know, however many thousands of pounds, which supposedly, according to Trump, blew everything up. The Iranians are saying that's not the case, and lots of people basically since the day of those bombings said that's not the case. And I tend to believe that. One, because they were talking about it very openly for a while. And if you're Iran and you have this nuclear material that you've spent, I'm sure, a huge amount of time, money, and energy on, and you buried 30, whatever it is, however many feet under the ground to protect it, and then you hear that America's going to bomb it, you're probably going to move it. You're probably going to go ahead and put some precautions in to make sure this doesn't happen. So I don't think that it was that big of a hit on Iran. And what happened after was Iran retaliated in the most non-confrontational way you could ever possibly retaliate. They did a symbolic attack on a U.S. base in Qatar that they ahead of time told the U.S. about. They made sure that people would be able to evacuate. They did not want to kill any U.S. service people. Keep that in mind when you're told that this is a crazy government that's going to destroy the world if they get a nuclear weapon. We can't let them have everything. They made sure not to kill any U.S. personnel because they knew that would accelerate. There was no way that they have attacked this base in Qatar or any one of the dozens of military bases that were in the range of Iran's missiles. Remember, our military has dozens of bases in the Middle East, and Iran has really high-quality rocket technology. They could have killed thousands of U.S. service people the moment that attack happened. Literally, they could have killed thousands of U.S. service people. They killed zero. They sent the same amount of missiles that they were hit with. The bombs dropped on them. It was an entirely symbolic thing. And Trump came out right after and declared this ceasefire. And thus far, it seems like it's kind of, sort of, maybe holding. But again, I think it's really important to point out that these crazy Islamists over there that we can't be trusted, worst people ever, can't possibly get a bomb, didn't do anything crazy in these interactions. They were attacked first by Israel. They responded and hit only military targets. And then we attacked them completely unprovoked, by the way. Let's be clear about that. Iran did not attack the United States in any way, shape, or form. No matter what absolute ridiculous silliness Ted Cruz and the Fox News folks want to tell you about their assassination attempts or whatever ridiculous, baseless crap they want to talk about, Iran did not attack us. We attacked them, and they chose to not kill anybody in retaliation. Again, I'm no fan of the Iranian regime. I don't like any theocrats. I don't think anyone who believes God is on their side should be in charge of a government. I just don't. It's my issue with the Israeli government. It's my issue with the Iranian government. It's my issue with anybody in the world who says, I have been spoken to by God. I know what God wants, and I am in charge. Those people are not to be trusted. So this is not a pro-Iranian point. It is a decidedly the American or anti-imperialist point, because it's not America that's attacking Iran. It's the military-industrial complex. It's the state. It's not you and me. I don't want to go to war in Iran, and the vast majority of Americans do not. It's going to take an awful lot to get America into another war. So we talked about that. So let's go on. So again, Trump claims victory and then says we have a ceasefire. I saw a great little video that this guy pointed out. I think where is this on the gram? I believe. Oh, on TikTok. And this is a speaker talking about his experience in Iran. And I think it's really important to check your perspective when we're dealing with this sort of military propaganda. Des, if you'll give me my screen, please. There you go.
Iran, it's a thriving country of 70 million people. I want to know what makes them tick. I'm in their capital city, Tehran, with about 12 million people, and there's a veneer of hatred there. I mean, look at the banner there. It's an 8-story tall American flag made out of dropping bombs and skulls for stars and stripes, saying "Down with America." And we've all heard about death to America and so on. I was in a taxi in that traffic jam there later on that day. It was just silent, and suddenly my driver just bursts out, "Death to traffic." And I thought, no, wait a minute. I thought it was death to Israel or death to America. He said, right now it's death to traffic. And I said, well, what's with that? And he said, here in Iran, anytime something's frustrating to us and out of our control, we say death to that.
So I just wanted to, the Ted Cruzes of this world, the Lindsey Grahams, all these neocons who, let me point out, have been wrong about every single war of my lifetime and don't go and fight in these wars. None of them sign up to fight in these wars. Ted Cruz isn't putting on a helmet and strapping on his machine gun to go and fight in this war. Lindsey Graham isn't signing up his grandkids. This is not what they want your kids to go and fight in these wars. They want your tax money to fund these wars. They're heavily invested in the military industrial contractors. So when they send your kids off to fight these wars and your tax money to pay for these wars, they're making money off it too. Republicans and Democrats, by the way. But it's always in this, like, they hate you. This is Ted Cruz's entire justification for our relationship with Israel. Well, the same people that hate Israel hate America. There you go. We got to be on the same team. It's just fucking stupid, childish, third-grade rhetoric. It is. It is what it is. I'm sorry. If that's the rhetoric you're believing, you're operating on a third-grade level. It's just not true. It's not the way the world works. There's not the bad guys. There's no, whatever. Who's the bad guy in G.I. Joe? You didn't watch it. There's no, like, Contra over there. being like, oh, all we care about is taking them down. The Muslims are just there hating us for our freedom. Like, come on, bro. We wasted trillions of dollars, ended millions of lives, including thousands of American service people, based on this delusional horseshit that you're too smart for. So anyway, this whole like, oh, well, they want us dead. Oh, shut the fuck up. This one gentleman has been a professor, Marandi from Iran, has been a lot in the media lately, and he's really interesting, giving a different perspective. Again, I'm not pro-Iranian. I'm really not pro any government, because governments are people who use violence to get what they want, and I don't believe in using violence to get what you want. But this guy's, it's just an interesting perspective. So this is Professor Morandi with Piers Morgan. We'll listen to them for a minute. As if you'll give me this, please. Make sure my sound is on. There we go.
How they should behave. Do you understand that in the West, we look at that as reprehensible behavior?
No, in the West, you objectify women, you commodify women, and you sexualize women, and you have Epsteins and many Epsteins who control.
Well, we give women the freedom to dress how they wish. Why would you decline them that freedom?
In Iran, we have women pilots, we have women scientists. My boss at the University of Tehran, the dean of my faculty is a woman. For the 21 years that I've been an academic at the University of Tehran, 17 and a half of those years, the dean of my faculty was one woman or another. Don't misrepresent Iran. It doesn't work anymore, Piers. Your Western empire is on the decline. The whole of the global South is witnessing the crimes that are being carried out by your regimes, and your declining regimes are now despised by your own people. You're crushing people, students who are protesting genocide. You're not even crushing students who are protesting your own government for something that they're doing at home. You're crushing students for protesting genocide in another country. But
so I just want to point out, I'm not a Muslim, and if I was, I would not want my religion as part of the law. I don't believe in Sharia law. I don't believe in any religious law being the law of the land. And I believe in liberty and freedom above all other things. So women should dress and do whatever they want. It's none of my business. So short of him defending the fact that there's that level of oppression in Iran, literally everything he says is spitting hot fire. He's accurate across the board. Our governments, our Western governments, our global North governments have been killing people very openly for the last 25 plus years, all for corporate gain, have been lying time and time again, have been responsible for violence, and are now actively oppressing our own people. As Tucker Carlson very rightly pointed out, both in his Marjorie Taylor Greene interview this week and in his previous discussion with Ted Cruz, our world here in America is getting worse. Our current conditions are worse. There's a great video around, I can't remember where it was. They're talking about the Matrix, and they were laughing about how, like, in 1999, the joke is that, like, that's the peak of human civilization. It's hard to make an argument that 1999 might not have been the peak of Western civilization. Nothing is better now for the average American worker than it was in 1999. And what's happened in those 26 intervening years, lots and lots of war, huge profits and huge gains for the billionaires and the billionaire class and the corporate classes. And the rest of us are not doing well. Even those of us that are doing relatively well are not making huge gains. So it's just a great point that that our Western governments are not serving us, and we have no leg to stand on when criticizing the abuses of other governments. Again, there are abuses. These other governments are not great, but the idea that ours is better, I don't think that holds much water. One more thing on Iran right now. Their Tehran Times just came up with a wild story. Des, will you give me this real quick? So they are claiming that they helped foil not Tehran Times, that the Iranian government, basically that Israel was about to execute a false flag attack on American soil to blame on Iran, and Iran foiled it. And they're claiming that they basically outed this attack before it happened. Does he back? This is wild. I don't know that I've ever seen a government predict another government's false flag attack. I've seen governments say other governments had committed them in the past. And if you don't know what a false flag attack is, it's when you basically do some act of violence, usually terrorism, and then blame it on someone else in order to get a desired outcome. The Gulf of Tonkin is a good example. I would say 9/11 is a pretty good example. We can get into lots of details on that in the future if you'd like to. Anyway, these are when you try and provoke a war, you try and provoke greater violence, you try and provoke a response. And a lot of people have been predicting that would be a motivation to get us involved in the Iranian war, that there'd be something blamed on Iran. And Iran is actually claiming that they foiled one of these plots before it happened. So, again, I don't know to trust the Iranian government about this, but I certainly don't know to trust ours or Israel on the other side of it. While we're on Israel, let's talk about Gaza. Des, if you give me this. So we have more. I saw this headline and I was like, oh, this must be a total from the last week or whatever, when I saw this total of 68. And no, this is just today. So these the theme that we've been seeing this week, and there's been reports of Israeli soldiers, IDF soldiers, actually saying that this has happened, is that they're actually purposely attacking people at these aid sites. That as starving people are trying to go pick up this aid, this international aid that's come in, that they're getting effectively picked off by Israeli soldiers. This is something that is, again, there's testimony from IDF soldiers that this is actually what's happening. Just shocking. So let's hear a little more about this over here, please. This guy's a great follow, by the way. If you play,
breaking news will shock you. Israeli soldiers are speaking out today about orders that they have received from their commanders. Today, Haaretz, a Israeli newspaper, published testimonies from Israeli officers and soldiers revealing they were commanded to fire at unarmed Palestinians waiting for food in Gaza. Let that sink in. People waiting for bread shot on command, reported to us by an Israeli newspaper. How many times am I going to slap my forehead? How many times? It's already huge. Look at this thing. I can fit 4 fingers on it straight. Anyway, one soldier called it, quote, a killing field, end quote, where between 1 to 5 people died daily near the distribution site he was deployed to. Another soldier called it, quote, said, quote, this thing called killing innocent people, it's been normalized, end quote. These aren't enemy combatants or armed militants, by the way. These are starving civilians, many of them children, waiting for humanitarian aid that opens for just 1 hour a day. The GHF, the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, this fake aid organization that the US just, by the way, approved $30 million to support. This Israeli-backed aid.
So anyway, you can find more about that. It's really disturbing. And the tide in public support is really shifting. So there was a Glastonbury music festival this weekend, and there was some real displeasure for the Israeli government demonstrated at this show. Des, if you'll give me this, please.
Music collided with politics in performances that sparked national debate. On Saturday, London-based English pop duo Bob Vylan performed at Glastonbury, leading crowds in chants of death to the Israeli military. Shortly after, Irish hip-hop trio Kneecap took the stage before a crowd of 30,000, many waving Palestinian flags, and delivered a set that was part concert, part political statement. Wearing a keffiyeh, Mo Chara used the spotlight to condemn Israel's war on Gaza, calling the state war criminals and accusing critics of trying to silence pro-Palestinian voices. The Israeli embassy said remarks made during performances on the West Holt stage were hateful.
So these are people speaking out, again, very clearly against the Israeli government. against the IDF, the Israeli Defense Force, the people committing these crimes in Gaza. They're not saying anything against Jewish people. That's all ridiculous and obvious deflection. The point here is that this is a large and big show in which these ideas are very, very popular. The amount of Palestinian flags there, through the roof. The support for those messages is through the roof. And if you look at national support in American polls for the Israeli government, it is steadily declining. Americans are sick of funding these acts of horrific violence that we see on television. Now, it's very important that we do not descend into making this a blaming of a particular culture or nationality. I am 100% opposed to the actions of the Israeli government right now. But Israel is not the problem in the world. Israel is not in charge of the American government. I know that's a controversial thing to say to some people, certainly those in the conspiracy movement. But it's not that Israel is in control. It's that the incentives align. It's that right now, Israel is Western imperialism in the Middle East. That's what's happening. This is corporate imperialism. The enemy is not America. America's not the bad guy. America's the home of freedom. America's wonderful. The enemy is not Israel, right? Israel is a beautiful country, as I'm told by many people. I've not been there. I'm sure there's many wonderful people in Israel. The enemy is not Russia or China. It's corporate imperialism. And again, notice that I didn't say capitalism. That's very, very popular on the TikToks and the Instagrams. So this is what capitalism does. Look what capitalism did. Capitalism. It's not some mysterious, economic theory. An economic theory did not take your job and send it to China. A CEO did. An actual human being made a terrible decision to be a sellout, and that person should be held responsible. It's not some system. Our government should have regulations and legislations that support individual people, not corporations. It's not about, the capitalist society. I just think that's an incredibly simple-minded team sports way of thinking about it. We just need a socialist revolution. Well, maybe. I think what you really need is to not have criminals in charge. And that's what we have. Our current situation in the world is that the very worst people that exist are in charge. People who are okay with the things that are happening now, with declining quality of life and health in pretty much everywhere in the world, unless you're rich, and non-stop violence that they will justify with any long litany of things that are demonstrably false. The system is a problem because it's run by criminals. And it's not millions and millions of criminals. It's probably like a couple thousand people who are really pulling the strings, and then another, 20 or 30,000 more that are happily doing their bidding. We don't need to say that we hate a group of people, or we hate a country, or we hate a economic theory. None of that is required. What's required is people uniting and not letting criminals be in charge anymore. Finding out who's on these lists and getting rid of those people. Finding out who's been doing backdoor deals and printing money out of thin air and getting rid of those people. All right, couple more things to get to. Let's talk about big story this week. Back on the domestic front is Alligator Alcatraz. This is the newest. So this is one. As soon as I heard the term Alligator Alcatraz, I rolled my eyes instantly, because it's another one of these kids in cages type of emotional story. Again, based on some real injustice. The reason that people are upset about this is real. So this is a new migrant camp that is being built in Florida for all these undocumented workers or illegal immigrants, call it what you will, potato, potato, people who are not in this country legally that are being detained by ICE. Again, we've spoke about you can both support deporting people who are here illegally and be horrified by the way that ICE is violating people's constitutional rights. God-given rights, quite frankly, regardless of whether they're citizens or not. They should not be manhandled, taken off the streets without any paperwork, without any due process. So we can both say we should have a border and that border should be enforced and people shouldn't be in this country illegally, and we can treat people with respect and decency. These are not mutually exclusive ideas. I do want to point out, however, the shit ain't free. So last year we spent $3.43 billion on immigration detention centers. Things like this Alcatraz. The reason I bring this up is I think whenever you look at a problem, always look at who benefits. And I think there is I believe things about the Biden administration that people on the progressives aren't supposed to believe. I think the Biden administration purposely left the border open and purposely helped create this migration crisis. I think that's true, and I think it's a problem. I think millions of people coming into this country at a rapid pace illegally with smuggling and all the things that come along with it is not a good thing. At the same time, those are human beings. Those are people with names and families, and they should be treated with decency. They are not the cause of the problem. I think you have lots of financial motivation to get money out of our government. And a great way to do that is with the prison industry. The private prison industry has made a shitload of money keeping nonviolent people locked up in this country. And they're going to make a shitload of money keeping migrants locked up in this country. And I don't think any of this is by accident. So, beware. All right. The last couple more things I want to talk about. I've noticed a uptick in election fraud talk lately. And again, for the entire Biden administration, anyone who talked about anything election related was supposed to be some wacky right-wing MAGA QAnon person or whatever. But I hear some very similar talking points. Taz, if you give me my screen, please.
Analysis from the ETA on North Carolina.
This is impossible. This is saying, nah, nobody liked her. She underperformed across the entire state.
Talking about the Harris-Trump election, by the way.
That's unpopular, but this is too consistent.
So that was a clip from the Roland Martin Unfiltered show from last night where the ETA was discussing the 2024 North Carolina results.
We've not released North Carolina yet. No one has seen this yet. So we're going to talk about it. We have hard numbers for you.
Do you remember this guy?
Dr. Walter Mebane. He's a professor at the University of Michigan. He runs the Department of Political Science and Statistics. He is the leading expert in physics in the U.S. There's not a lot of people who have more experience than him that have done more. His analysis for North Carolina, a working paper that he shared with us, it estimates, based on his model, up to 207,000 possibly fraud. The margin of victory for Trump in North Carolina at the president level, it's 184,000.
So I'll save you listen to this video. Is not very exciting, but it is one of quite a few videos I saw from left people claiming that the last election results were fraudulent. This is wild because they literally spent the previous 4 years saying anyone who said that was a whack job. And then also the 4 years before that saying that election was fraudulent as well. Here's the problem. Your view of whether elections are legit or not legit is dependent entirely on if your guy won or not. I think it's time that we actually have a look at our elections. Again, I'm not convinced of the results of any elections, certainly since 2000, certainly since Bush and hanging chads and Fox News in Florida. Feel free to look into that one if you'd like to. It's wild. But I just don't feel any reason to have any confidence in our elections. We have all these voting machines that are different in every state. Some of them have these weird back doors in them. We have all these different voting processes that are different in every state. We have Republicans and Democratic parties in different states having different power and different control over the system. We have them written right into our federal laws effectively. it's time for some electoral reform. It's time that for federal elections, we have universal federal policies and that we make these. This shouldn't be hard, right? What we're talking about here is counting. We should be able to figure out counting. And the way you'll know that this is a real effort and not some political horseshit is that if we go in and we say we need to do it everywhere across the board, regardless of who's winning. Because I don't have any faith whatsoever in the outcome of these federal elections. None on either way. I'm not confident that Trump won or lost this last one, or that Biden won or lost the one before that, all the way back. Who the fuck knows? While we're on election issues, this is the most stupid thing I've seen this week, and I'm sorry if this involves you. You're probably a frustrated white woman if that's the case. But Des, have you seen this? The 4 a.m. Club. This is on TikTok. This 4 a.m. Club are these people. I've only seen white women in this doing this yet, who said they got this like strange feeling on election night at 4 a.m. that Kamala really won, and that there was a different timeline that they're on than everyone else, and that like they just know that this Trump thing was not real. Literally, like it's some like metaphysical event that happened.
Once you get hot, wait, right?
Yeah, you're on.
All right, so like that just sounds like copium.
That's exactly what it is. It's copium.
Also, just the immense amount of delusion is crazy. That's a crazy level of delusion right there.
It is a crazy level of delusion. And
my question is, how far do you have to delude yourself to genuinely believe that? Like, you have to be on some fucking crazy drugs to genuinely believe that.
I don't know. What I do know is my hesitation about these No Kings protests is this feels like the same group of people. And if you think all the problems we're having now would be notably better with a Democratic president, I'm sorry, you've lost the plot. You're missing the point. That's not what's going on there. There might be things on the margins that are different. The parties are different on the margins. They wouldn't be doing immigration quite so brutally. But Biden deported, 4 million people? It's not a different system. Okay, I got one last thing to talk about. I want to talk about selling out. So, we're going to have to hold off on the other thing till later. Des, if you give me my screen, my lovely wife shared this with me. So for a lot of us do our best to minimize the chemicals and nasties that we put into our body. So we're very careful about using certain brands of deodorant and self-care products. However, corporations realize that these are popular, so I just want to run down this list right here. Burt's Bees, actually owned by Clorox. That was the one that hurt me because I just love that stuff. 7th Generation, super expensive products at the grocery store. Again, owned by Unilever. And you can go right down the list. Tom's of Maine, again, if you're a New Englander, that one hurts. They've been for a while. I wanted to give a specific shout out, actually, that's give my screen back, to friend of the show, Constant Green Dreams, who did his own testing of the local bottled water choices and saw a couple weeks ago he chewed me out for us drinking Poland Spring on the set. I do my best to not buy too much plastic to drink out of anyway, but I always like to make sure that we have beverages for the guests when they're here. But we had Poland Spring because it just happened to be what was there when I was at the store, and I was like, oh, bottled water is not good for you, so who cares? Well, he did his own testing, and Crystal Geyser is our local Market Basket brand, and according to my friend Constant Green Dreams, this tests much, much better than the Poland Springs. The Poland Springs is like one of the worst for particulate and all that extra crap, which makes sense because although Poland Springs is a local actual site, you can drive up to Poland Springs in Maine. I used to drive by there all the time. It's a couple hours from here. It was bought by Nestle 5 or 10 years ago, Nestle is one of these, it's actually, they've called themselves, they changed their name, now they're some Blue Triton brands, whatever, some giant corporate death cult that puts all kinds of trash in the water. So thank you real quick to Constant Green Dreams. Point here being, we have to work together on this stuff. It is really hard to stay local and stay within your values, stay healthy in a society run by psychopaths who want you to be sick. So thank you very much for that. Keep an eye on all this stuff. You know, our Annies and our Naked Juice and our, Lara bars, all made by the man. On the subject of selling out, I saw this video and I thought it made a great point, and this will be the last thing we'll talk about for our Sunday Sanity Check. So let's take a look at this. Des, if you would give me the screen, please.
Like, do the kids these days even know that...
Shit, I didn't go all the way back to the beginning. There we go. What? I think we need to bring back the stigma.
Stigma of selling out. Like, do the kids these days even know that that used to be a thing? That we used to shame celebrities for this, that you could take the corporate money, but you lost any street cred or cool factor. That's why there used to be this whole trend of famous actors going to Japan to film ads. Because they could take that easy paycheck, and at the time, they were certain that these would never be seen in the United States. The movie Lost in Translation revolves around this idea because Bill Murray is playing this washed-up actor. And him having to go to Japan to film a liquor commercial is seen like an all-time low in his life and his career. And I feel like that stigma served a purpose, because to be clear, this is not a situation where you have like a stand-up comedian who lands a TV commercial and that lets them actually buy food. It's figures trying to take the goodwill they've built up with the public and just cashing in on it as much as possible. When there was this period of time starting in the 90s or so, when bands would speak up against other acts for overcharging for their tickets or charging too much for merch, that you saw your loyal fans as just something to be squeezed for money. Where now it's routine for somebody to get famous and then immediately launch like a meme coin that they can then dump, and they don't get ostracized for it. It's like, no, this is how it works now. The moment you're famous, you should squeeze every penny from your fans you can get. Or they'll accept money to push apps that are designed to get their fans addicted to gambling.
So we've talked about the gambling one specifically. That was my red flag for sports betting, was how many incredibly high level celebrities, like Kevin Hart and LeBron James, hawking your addictive trash. It's used to be part of our culture that we judged people for selling out. We thought, you know what, there's some things that are more important than money, and if all you care about is money, you're kind of a piece of shit. If you're and again, even for athletes, there was an expectation. Michael Jordan changed that quite a bit. For musicians, there was definitely an expectation. Anybody in the artist realm, there was an expectation that you held the art and your fans in higher regard than you did corporate money, and that it was a shameful thing to do to just get that top dollar. We've lost that in the culture, and we need to get it back. Des, what do you think?
My question is, how did people change the tides so quickly on that? Because
bling bling, bling bling. It's all about bling. In my opinion, we went through. It started in the '80s with the Wall Street guys. We thought the Wall Street guys were cool, even though they make nothing and take everything. And then I think the bling bling era brought that to hip hop. Remember, hip hop was incredibly positive, culturally relevant, revolutionary in the 70s and the 80s, and that was dangerous to the system. In the 90s, we got gangster rap that was about shoot people and get money, sell drugs and get money, right? Get money, get respect, get bitches. Like, that was the gangster rap thing. And then we got the bling bling era. The shiny
Soulja Boy,
ice on my wrist, ice on my neck, ice on this, that, and the other, in which all you care about is having more money, but not what you do for your community, not how your value as an artist. So let's get back to that. Let's start shaming people for being sellouts. That said, let's get into some more positive stuff. We got a great interview coming up in about 5 minutes with Melissa Blasick. We will be coming right back with that. I got to get the meeting all set up, make sure we're good to go. Thank you very much for joining us on our Sunday Sanity Check, and thanks especially if you're around for our local news with Beth. It's been a great Sunday with you guys. Lots of good guests coming up this summer. Melissa Blasick, a former New Hampshire state rep from Merrimack, and leader of Rebuild New Hampshire, who's a really, really awesome woman and inspirational. We're going to talk to her in about 5 minutes. We'll be right back. Keep an eye out. Thank you guys for joining us.